Listen, that sound in the background of your life, the one you don't even notice until it's gone. The low, steady hum of the refrigerator, the whisper of a computer fan, the buzz of a distant power line. It's the constant, quiet breath of our civilization. Now imagine it stops. All of it. In a single, silent moment, the breath hitches. A flicker, a final surge, and then a stillness so absolute it feels like the planet itself is holding its breath. This is how the age of humans ends. Not with a cataclysmic bang, but with a simple, deafening silence. The beginning of the end is a process so swift it's almost elegant in its devastation. It starts at a single power station, perhaps a hydroelectric dam where a crucial turbine fails. In our world, a team of engineers would isolate the problem in minutes. But with no one at the controls, the failure cascades. Our electrical grids are a miracle of balance, a continent-spanning network synchronized to a precise frequency. 60 Hz in North America, 50 in Europe. Every power plant, from nuclear to coal, must push in perfect rhythm. When one major plant trips offline, the load on the other skyrockets, causing them to slow down, dropping the grid's frequency. This is the system's death knell. Automated safety systems, designed to protect expensive equipment from damaging frequency fluctuations, do exactly what they were programmed to do. They disconnect. One by one, substations and power plants sever their connections to save themselves, but in doing so, they doom the entire network. Like a line of dominoes falling in fractions of a second, the grid tears itself apart in a continent-wide blackout. There is no reboot sequence. There is no one to flip the breakers. The ghost in our machine, the electrical current that animated our world, has simply vanished. This electrical death triggers an immediate systemic collapse. Think of it as the planet's circulatory system failing. The first to go is water. Every major city relies on a network of immensely powerful electric pumps to maintain water pressure and transport clean water to millions of homes. When they stop, the taps run dry in hours. The water left in the pipes becomes stagnant, a breeding ground for bacteria. Simultaneously, the systems pumping wastewater away also fail, ensuring that within weeks, our clean water sources are terminally contaminated with our own filth. Our entire digital world, stored in server farms that consume as much electricity as small cities, dies alongside the grid. These servers require constant, massive-scale cooling. Without it, the processors overheat and fry themselves in minutes. The sum total of human knowledge, our art, our science, our history, every photo, every email, every digital record, evaporates into useless, heat-damaged silicon. The satellites that once ringed our planet, no longer receiving course corrections from the ground, begin their slow, inexorable orbital decay, destined to burn up in the atmosphere as future shooting stars. With the invisible infrastructure gone, the physical world begins its surrender. Our cities, which we viewed as monuments of permanence, are revealed to be incredibly fragile. The true enemy is water. It is the universal solvent, and it begins its work immediately. On our roads, tiny cracks become its entry point. In temperate climates, the freeze-thaw cycle becomes a relentless jackhammer. Water seeps into the asphalt, freezes, expands by 9%, and widens the crack. Thaw, repeat. Within a single decade, highways become impassable mosaics of shattered pavement and emerging weeds. Our proudest structures, our skyscrapers, face a more insidious enemy from within, their own skeletons. They are built of concrete reinforced with steel bars or rebar. But concrete is porous. Over time, water and carbon dioxide seep in, triggering a chemical reaction in the steel oxidation. It's a fancy word for rust. As the rebar rusts, it expands with tremendous force, a process called spalling. This internal pressure cracks and pushes away the surrounding concrete, exposing more steel to the elements, accelerating the decay. Without maintenance, a gleaming skyscraper will become a crumbling, dangerous ruin in less than a century. But where there is decay, there is also rebirth. Nature, which we fought to a standstill, begins to reclaim its territory with shocking speed. The playbook for this is already written, in a place on Earth that has become an accidental laboratory for a post-human world. The Chernobyl exclusion zone. After the 1986 disaster, a 1,000 square mile area was abandoned. Today, despite the lingering radiation, it is a haven for wildlife. It serves as our blueprint for what happens when humans just leave. Following this blueprint, the first colonists in our cities will be the pioneer plants, dandelions, clover, and buddleia, whose seeds can take root in the smallest crack of concrete. They are followed by more aggressive species, like the Japanese knotweed, whose powerful rhizomes can punch through foundations. Then come the trees. Fast-growing, light-loving species like birch and the tree of heaven will sprout on rooftops and highway medians, their roots acting as living wedges, prying our world apart piece by piece. Within 50 years, entire city blocks will be shrouded in a young, dense forest. And with the plants come the animals. Released from the pressure of our presence, wild populations explode. Deer, boar, and coyotes venture out from the parks and into the silent downtown cores. The evidence from Chernobyl is undeniable. Brown bears, lynx, and massive herds of wisent now roam the abandoned city of Pripyat. Packs of wolves, one of the most persecuted predators in history, now thrive there at population densities 7 times higher than in surrounding non-contaminated areas. They are living proof that life does not just endure. It flourishes. The silent planet is reawakening, and our ruins are becoming the foundation of a new, wilder world. With the silent hum of our machinery gone, a new sound begins to echo across the land. The desperate cries of the creatures we created. For 10,000 years we played God, molding the animal kingdom to our will. We didn't just tame them, we fundamentally rewrote their biology, creating a world of living dependence. Now, with their God vanished, they face an immediate and brutal reckoning. The first to fall are the most extreme products of our engineering, the world's 23 billion broiler chickens, bred to grow so fast their own legs can't support their weight. Their existence was entirely managed by automated systems, and with the power gone, their automated feeders and waterers run dry. They are the first victims of the power vacuum, a testament to the fatal fragility we imposed upon them. The tragedy unfolds more slowly across the open fields for the planet's 1.5 billion cattle. These animals are a perfect illustration of a biological concept known as domestication syndrome. In exchange for our protection, they traded away the very traits that allow for survival. Their brains are up to 30% smaller than those of their wild ancestors, the aurochs. Their fight-or-flight instincts have been blunted, replaced by a placid docility. A modern dairy cow, engineered to produce over 100 pounds of milk a day, would quickly succumb to agonizing mastitis without robotic milking machines. Beef cattle, accustomed to processed grains, would find wild grasses tough and difficult to digest, slowly starving in a world of plenty. The same story of helplessness is written for the world's billion sheep. A merino sheep, the backbone of the wool industry, has been bred to never shed its fleece. Without humans to shear it, the wool will grow continuously year after year. The animal will become encased in a massive, filth-caked prison of its own making, eventually becoming immobilized, overheated, and a walking feast for billions of parasites. These creatures are not just unprepared for the wild, they are biologically incompatible with it. They are artifacts of our civilization, and like our buildings, they are destined to crumble. But not all our creations were so helpless. One animal, an intelligent and resilient opportunist, would not just survive the unraveling. It would thrive in it. The pig. Domestic pigs carry the genetic toolkit of their ancestor, the fearsome wild boar. When released into the wild, they undergo a stunning transformation, a process of rapid de-domestication. Within a few generations, they grow thick, bristly coats called griefs. Their snouts elongate, their tusks begin to grow again, and their intelligence, once used to navigate farm life, is turned towards survival. They are true omnivores, capable of eating anything, and their powerful bodies and sharp tusks make them more than a match for most predators. This brings us to the ultimate paradox of our relationship with the animal kingdom, our companions. The hundreds of millions of dogs we bred for love now face a filter of our own making. Think of a pug, a breed so altered by our aesthetic whims that it can barely breathe and often requires a C-section to even be born. They, along with countless other specialized breeds, would vanish in a single generation. They are a heartbreaking example of how our affection became a cage. The hope for the canine lineage lies not in the purebreds, but in the mutts, the resilient street dogs who have always lived on the margins. These generalists, with their diverse gene pool, would form packs and rediscover the cooperative hunting strategies of their wolf ancestors, becoming one of the new world's most formidable predators. While our dependents faced this brutal filter, wild nature was uncorked. For millennia, humanity acted as a great suppressor, a constant, grinding pressure on every ecosystem. Our roads alone, a merciless network of asphalt, claimed billions of animal lives every year. Our noise pollution disrupted mating calls and navigation. Our mere presence pushed countless species to the brink. With that pressure instantly lifted, the response is explosive. Herbivore populations, freed from hunters and traffic, begin to boom. Deer, elk, and rabbit numbers skyrocket, turning our overgrown suburbs into vast grazing lands. This sudden abundance of prey, combined with the feast of helpless livestock, creates the perfect conditions for the return of the great predators. Wolf packs, long confined to remote wilderness, would expand their territories at a stunning rate, their howls echoing through the ruins of our towns for the first time in centuries. Grizzly bears and cougars, no longer in conflict with humans, would descend from the mountains to find a land rich with opportunity. This is the beginning of a violent ecological reorganization known as a trophic cascade. A trophic cascade is when the return of a top predator causes dramatic changes down the entire food chain. The newly emboldened wolf packs wouldn't just control the deer populations. Their presence would change the deer's behavior. By keeping herbivores on the move and out of open valleys, the wolves would inadvertently allow young trees and vegetation to recover, which in turn would stabilize riverbanks and create new habitats for birds and beavers. The return of the predators is not just a restoration. It's a complete re-engineering of the landscape, driven by the primal forces of hunger and fear. So the great unraveling is not just an ending. It is a violent and chaotic rebirth. The carefully managed garden of our world has been left to go wild. The rules are being rewritten, not by intelligence or technology, but by the ancient logic of tooth and claw. The planet's food webs, once shattered by our departure, are now reassembling themselves into a new and unpredictable configuration. The power vacuum is being filled, and the stage is now set for a brutal competition to decide who will sit at the top of this new food chain. As the dust settles on a silent Earth, the first stage of the new era begins. It's not an age of majestic predators or intelligent innovators. It is the gilded age of scavengers. The planet is no longer an ecosystem. It's a colossal, unguarded pantry, overflowing with the calorie-rich, easily accessible leftovers of a vanished civilization. In this new world, the rules of evolution have been temporarily suspended and replaced by a single, brutal imperative: eat, multiply, and conquer. The race belongs not to the strong, but to the opportunistic. The biological principle governing this era is known as our /K selection theory. K strategists, like elephants and humans, invest heavily in a few slow-maturing offspring. They thrive in stable environments. But our collapse has created the ultimate unstable environment, a paradise for the R strategists. These are the masters of chaos, species that pour all their energy into rapid reproduction, unleashing vast numbers of offspring to flood any new opportunity. They are the shock troops of evolution, and they are about to inherit the Earth. At the forefront of this invasion is a creature that has been our shadow for centuries: the brown rat, Ratus norvegicus. The key to its domination is a horrifyingly simple mathematical equation. A single female rat can produce up to a dozen litters a year, with a dozen pups per litter. Her offspring can, in turn, begin reproducing in as little as 5 weeks. In a perfect environment with unlimited food, like, say, an abandoned continent-sized supermarket, a single pair of rats could theoretically have over 15,000 descendants in 1 year. Now, multiply that by the hundreds of millions of rats already living in our cities. The result is a biological tidal wave. This is not just a mindless swarm. Rats possess a cunning, collective intelligence. They operate in clans, communicating through a complex language of scent markings and ultrasonic squeaks beyond the range of human hearing. This allows them to map out our ruined cities, marking safe pathways and flagging dangerous, decaying structures. They are the ultimate omnivores, and our legacy is their feast. They will gnaw through the plastic packaging of our long-expired food, devour the bindings of the books in our libraries for their glue, and even consume the soap from our bathrooms. For a time, the entire planet would seem to belong to them, a world scurrying under the feet of a single dominant species. But the rat's brute force approach has a more sophisticated rival, a creature that swaps overwhelming numbers for individual genius: the raccoon. If the rat is the foot soldier of the apocalypse, the raccoon is its master locksmith. The source of its power lies in its extraordinary front paws, which are packed with 4 times as many sensory receptors as most mammals. Their sense of touch is so acute that they can identify objects without even seeing them. This physical gift is paired with a brain built for problem-solving. A raccoon's cognitive toolkit is shockingly advanced. They possess exceptional long-term memory, able to recall the solution to a complex locking mechanism for up to 3 years. More importantly, they demonstrate an understanding of cause and effect. They don't just randomly fiddle with a puzzle. They test it, observe the results, and modify their approach. A doorknob isn't a random piece of metal. It's a device that, when turned, causes a latch to retract. In a world full of our containers, devices, and sealed spaces, this makes the raccoon the undisputed king of access. It is the engineer of the ruins. While the mammals feast, another, more ancient survivor thrives in the shadows. A creature so resilient it makes the rat look fragile. The cockroach. They are biological masterpieces of survival, operating on a level of durability that defies belief. Their resilience to radiation is legendary. They can withstand doses up to 15 times more lethal to humans. They can survive for a month without food, a week without a head, and can hold their breath for 40 minutes. Our abandoned homes, with their dark, damp spaces and endless supply of decaying organic matter like wallpaper paste and cardboard, are their paradise. But their true genius is their adaptability. We have witnessed their evolution in real time. For decades, humans used poison baits laced with glucose to attract and kill them. In response, some cockroach populations evolved a spontaneous aversion to glucose, a trait that spread like wildfire. This is evolution happening not over millennia, but over a handful of years. This incredible genetic plasticity means they are ready for almost any challenge the post-human world can throw at them. They are not contenders for intelligent rule, but they are the planet's indestructible foundation, the ultimate cleanup crew. So the Gilded Age dawns, ruled by the R-strategists. The rats swarm, the raccoons scheme, and the cockroaches endure. They grow fat and numerous on the spoils of our fallen empire. But their entire world order is built on a finite resource: us. They are consuming the past, dining on the scraps of a world that is no longer being replenished. Their throne is unstable because it is built on decay. And as they feast, they are completely unaware that our world has one final, terrible legacy in store for them. A great filter is coming, and it will decide who truly inherits the future. The Gilded Age of the Scavengers is in full swing. In the ruins of our cities, the rats and raccoons have grown fat and numerous, their dynasties built on the mountains of our waste. They are the undisputed kings of a broken world, utterly oblivious to the fact that their kingdom is built upon a time bomb. Our most dangerous legacy was never our concrete or our steel. It was our mastery over the atom. And across the silent planet, in over 400 locations, that legacy is beginning to stir. A great filter is coming, and it will be forged in the heart of a dying star. The countdown begins the moment the grid fails. At every nuclear power plant, a series of massive diesel generators roars to life, their sound a final, defiant echo of the age of machines. These are the last line of defense, their sole purpose to power the colossal pumps that circulate millions of gallons of cooling water around the intensely hot reactor core. But they are a temporary solution. These generators are thirsty, and their fuel tanks are finite. Depending on the facility, they have enough fuel for a few days, perhaps a week. It is a grace period, a final tick of the clock before the inevitable. When the last drop of diesel is consumed and the generators fall silent, the process begins. Inside the reactor core, thousands of zirconium alloy fuel rods, packed with uranium, are generating immense heat from radioactive decay. Without the constant flow of cooling water, this heat has nowhere to go. The water in the core begins to boil away with furious speed. As the water level drops, the tops of the fuel rods are exposed to superheated steam, and a terrifying chemical reaction begins. The zirconium cladding reacts with the steam, stripping away the oxygen and releasing massive quantities of free hydrogen gas into the containment building. The pressure builds. The temperature inside the core soars past 2000 degrees Celsius. The fuel rods themselves begin to melt into a molten, radioactive slag called corium. And all the while, explosive hydrogen gas is filling the sealed containment dome. It is a bomb waiting for a spark. That spark inevitably comes, and the resulting explosion is powerful enough to shatter the tons of reinforced concrete and steel designed to keep this poison contained. The roof is blown off the building. The heart of the reactor is now open to the sky. A plume of vapor, smoke, and pulverized radioactive particles is ejected miles into the atmosphere. It carries a cocktail of deadly isotopes, each a unique and enduring threat. There is iodine-131, which, with a half-life of just 8 days, unleashes a torrent of short-term radiation, flooding into the thyroid glands of any creature that inhales it. And then there are the long-term killers, strontium-90 and cesium-137. With half-lives of around 30 years, they are destined to poison the environment for centuries. They are the true architects of the Great Filter. The science of their lethality is insidious. Strontium-90 is chemically similar to calcium. When ingested by an animal, its body mistakes it for a nutrient and deposits it directly into its bones and teeth, where it will emit radiation for the creature's entire life, causing bone cancers and leukemia. Cesium-137 mimics potassium, a vital element for soft tissue function. It accumulates in the muscles, irradiating organs from within. This is not a quick death. It is a slow cellular decay, a plague of cancers and genetic mutations that will cascade through generations. This invisible fallout creates a new, brutal food chain dynamic through a process called bioaccumulation. A patch of grass absorbs a small dose of radioactive cesium. A rabbit eats 1,000 blades of that grass, concentrating the dose in its muscles. A feral dog, a descendant of our former companions, eats 10 of those rabbits over its lifetime. The radiation from each victim builds up in its body, magnifying the poison at each step up the food chain. The apex predators, the rulers of the new wilderness, become the most contaminated of all. The very success of the scavengers now becomes their undoing. And the nuclear threat is not our only ghost. We left behind thousands of chemical plants, vast, decaying complexes of pipes and pressure vessels. Imagine a facility like the one in Bhopal, India, left unattended. Corrosion, pressure imbalances, or a simple structural failure could release a dense cloud of methyl isocyanate or chlorine gas, heavier than air. This toxic fog would roll across the landscape, silently killing every breathing thing in its path, leaving miles-wide patches of utter sterility. Our industrial prowess becomes a weapon turned against the future. Even the forces of nature we tamed will be unleashed. There are over 50,000 large dams on the planet, each holding back a colossal amount of kinetic energy. Without maintenance to clear silt and repair cracks, they are all doomed to fail. The collapse of a structure like the Hoover Dam would release a volume of water equivalent to the entire flow of the Mississippi River for hours. The resulting flood would not be water. It would be a liquid sandpaper, a slurry of rock and debris that would scour entire ecosystems down to the bedrock, an act of geological violence on a scale not seen since the Ice Age. This, then, is the Great Filter. It is our poisoned inheritance, a multi-layered global catastrophe of our own making. The Gilded Age of the Scavengers is over, burned away by radiation, choked by poison, and scoured by floodwaters. The rules for survival have changed completely. It is no longer enough to be numerous, clever, or adaptable in the way the rats and raccoons were. To pass through this filter, life must be something else entirely. It must be either profoundly resilient or profoundly remote. The earth is being cleansed by fire, and the question is no longer who can feast on the past, but who is fit to build the future. The great filter has done its work. The fire of our legacy has burned away the pretenders, scouring the planet of the short-term opportunists. In the silence that follows, a new world is waiting to be born, and its architects will not be mammals. The age of fur and warm blood is over. From the poisoned soil, the deep oceans, and the empty skies, the true heirs emerge. They are not one group, but three, each representing a profoundly different path to intelligence, a competing model for the future of consciousness on Earth. The first and most widespread heir is not a single creature, but a global superorganism. The social insects, ants and termites, did more than just survive our apocalypse. They were uniquely prepared for it. Their subterranean colonies shielded them from the worst of the radiation, and their sheer numbers rendered any localized die-offs statistically irrelevant. Their true power, however, lies in a concept known as eusociality. An ant colony is not a family. It is a single, sprawling intelligence with individual ants acting like neurons in a planet-sized brain. Their language is not sound, but a complex chemical syntax of pheromones. A single ant can leave a trail that says not just food, but food, high in protein, 15 meters northeast, requires 10 workers to carry. This distributed intelligence allows them to solve incredibly complex problems, like finding the most efficient route through a maze or managing vast, sustainable agriculture in their underground fungal farms. They are masters of biological engineering, and with humanity gone, their ancient empires are now free to expand and wage war, their silent, disciplined armies marching across the continents. But what if the future of intelligence was not collective but individual, and forged in a place our apocalypse could barely touch? To find the second heir, we must look to the oceans. The deep seas, with their immense volume, diluted our radioactive legacy, creating a sanctuary for evolution. Here, a mind has been developing for 500 million years on a path completely alien to our own. The cephalopods, octopuses, squid, and cuttlefish are the planet's ultimate example of convergent evolution. They are proof that high intelligence does not require a backbone. A cephalopod's mind is a masterpiece of alien neurobiology. A large central brain is connected to a decentralized network, with 2/3 of its neurons located in its arms. Each arm can think, taste, and move independently, creating a form of embodied parallel processing we can barely comprehend. But their most radical feature is their skin. It is a living screen, covered in millions of color-changing cells called chromatophores that are directly wired to the brain. This is not just camouflage. It's a potential visual language of breathtaking complexity, a way to display thoughts and emotions directly on the skin. Here, the island rule comes into play on a planetary scale. The oceans, now cut off from the pressures of human industrial fishing, have become the largest evolutionary island in history. On islands, evolution can produce giants and geniuses. Cite 1:31. With no competition, cephalopods, already masters of problem-solving and tool use, have an unprecedented opportunity to evolve new forms of intelligence and perhaps even a silent, deep-sea society built on light and touch. Back on the surface, a third contender takes to the skies. It represents a mind that is eerily familiar, a reflection of our own ingenuity in a feathered form. The corvids, crows, ravens, and jays survived because they are the ultimate generalists, but they will thrive because they are, by some measures, the most intelligent non-human animals on the planet. Their brain-to-body size ratio is equivalent to that of great apes, and they use it with shocking efficiency. The scientific evidence for their intellect is staggering. New Caledonian crows don't just use tools. They craft them, making hooks from twigs and then carrying those custom tools with them. This is not instinct, it's technology. Crows have been proven to understand abstract causal reasoning on par with a 7-year-old human child, understanding concepts like water displacement to solve puzzles. They are one of the only animals on Earth, besides us, to demonstrate metatool use, the ability to use one tool to get another tool to solve a problem. Their greatest advantage, however, is culture. Young corvids learn from their parents, passing down knowledge of tool-making techniques, food sources, and even specific dangers, like the faces of humans who have wronged them. This ability to transmit complex information across generations is the bedrock of civilization. In a world littered with the mysterious artifacts of our fallen society, their problem-solving skills and cultural memory would give them an unparalleled advantage in learning to manipulate their environment. So the New World is a tripartite empire, ruled by three distinct forms of intelligence. The collective mind of the insects, a world of perfect cooperation and biological engineering. The alien mind of the cephalopods, a silent, thoughtful civilization of the deep. And the familiar mind of the corvids, a society of feathered tool users whose path most closely mirrors our own. These are the true heirs, the survivors of the filter, the architects of the next chapter of life on Earth. There is no single winner, but a planet now shared by competing philosophies of consciousness. Millions of years have passed. The last traces of our civilization have been subducted into the Earth's mantle, our legacy now just a faint, anomalous stratum in the planet's geological record. The long, violent fever of the Anthropocene is over. But the planet is not empty. It is teeming with a new kind of consciousness, a world of minds that took our place. The principle of convergent evolution suggests that intelligence is a recurring solution to the challenges of survival. But what form does it take when it is not forged behind a human face? Imagine a world dominated by the descendants of the ants, a planet transformed into a single living labyrinth. Their cities are not built, but grown. Vast, continent-spanning structures woven from living wood and hardened fungal chitin. Their internal climates perfectly regulated by a network of ventilation tunnels. There are no individuals here, no egos, no names. There is only the flawless, logical operation of the superorganism. Their technology is life itself. They have not smelted metal. They have mastered genetics, cultivating symbiotic bioluminescent fungi for light and breeding specialized bacteria that detoxify soil or produce medicinal compounds. Their language is a silent, planetary-scale chemical internet. Complex pheromones are released into the air and soil, carrying vast amounts of data that guide the actions of trillions. For them, reality is not a world of sights and sounds, but a symphony of scents and tastes, a constant stream of chemical information that defines purpose, direction, and the collective will. Their philosophy would be one of pure function, a world without art or poetry, but with the profound, intricate beauty of a perfectly optimized system. It is the ultimate logical conclusion of the collective mind. Now, let's submerge ourselves into an entirely different future, into the silent, three-dimensional world of the cephalopods. Here, in the deep ocean, a civilization of soft-body geniuses has flourished. Their cities are sculpted from living coral, their structures designed to manipulate deep-sea currents and harvest minerals from hydrothermal vents. Without fire, they never developed metallurgy. Their technology is one of hydraulics, genetic modification of marine life, and the manipulation of light. Great biolanterns, containing colonies of glowing bacteria, illuminate their abyssal metropolises. Their intelligence is solitary and contemplative. History is not recorded in books, a fragile medium in a liquid world. Instead, it might be encoded into the very DNA of long-living, genetically engineered organisms, or displayed in the complex, shifting light patterns of their own skin. Communication is a silent, high-bandwidth language of color and texture, a direct visual display of thought and emotion. Their philosophy would be one of fluidity, adaptation, and profound curiosity, a society of individual thinkers united by a shared, silent understanding, their minds shaped by the crushing pressure and infinite darkness of the deep. Then there is a third possibility, a world that echoes our own in the most unsettling ways, a future ruled by the corvids. Their societies are noisy, complex, and built in the dizzying heights of the forest canopies and sheer cliff faces. They are the masters of mechanical technology, Having had millions of years to study the strange artifacts we left behind, they have developed a sophisticated understanding of physics, levers, and simple machines. Their settlements are filled with intricate devices crafted from wood, bone, and salvaged scraps of our long-dead world, used for everything from cracking nuts to defending territory. Their culture is rich and deep, built upon a foundation of memory and oral tradition. Their complex, regional songs are not just music. They are their history, their laws, and their epics. Social status is a fluid game of cleverness, memory, and the ability to solve problems. Their perception of the world is alien. They can see in the ultraviolet spectrum, meaning flowers and the feathers of their rivals would blaze with colors invisible to us. Their philosophy would be one of cunning, knowledge, and fierce individualism, a world of tricksters and artisans, forever striving, competing, and creating. But perhaps there is no single winner. The island rule shows us how isolation can create evolutionary wonders. On a planetary scale, the now isolated continents would have become the ultimate evolutionary laboratories. It's possible that South America is a silent, sprawling empire of ants, that the Great Pacific Ocean is the domain of the thoughtful octopus, and that Eurasia is a patchwork of warring corvid clans. A world not of one dominant species, but a dynamic, multipolar planet of competing intelligences. For millennia, we stared into the cosmos and asked, "Where is everybody?" We were troubled by the great silence of the universe. The answer, it seems, is that the universe is not silent. It is patient. It waits for the loud, self-consuming fires like our own to burn out. Life's genius is not in creating one perfect form, but in its endless capacity for new beginnings. The end of humanity was not the end of the world. It was simply the clearing of the stage for minds forged in darkness, in silence, and in flight. A new dawn has arrived, and the story of Earth is only just beginning.